5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is Deducter bringing you Set 5 STX versus Woongjin Stars, and STX is up 3-1. STX just needs to win this match, and we have BoGus as the Terran player playing for STX at the 11 o'clock position as the yellow Terran, and we have SoulKey, NeoG.SoulKey as the red Zerg playing for Woongjin Stars at the 1 o'clock position. SoulKey, arguably the third tier player on Woongjin Stars. Well, that's debatable. SoulKey's actually performed fairly well. On the other hand, BoGus is actually a pretty good versus Zerg player, and SoulKey, from what I recall, is not the best versus Zerg player. Versus Terran player, rather. This is Circuit Breaker's 4-player map, and it looks like SoulKey's going the wrong direction with his Overlord. That's probably... I honestly think it might be a bit of a blessing, in fact, for the first Overlord. Well, actually, no, that's probably not true. I have to think about this exactly, because you want to be a bit careful with Overlords against Terran. If it gets picked off by some early Marines, that's a disaster. I think, actually, no, scouting second would probably be the worst possibility, because that Overlord might potentially be caught in the open. I think if you scout first, you're going to see the Terran way too early to have any sort of problem. Regardless, here's hoping for a good matchup between these two. SoulKey obviously needs to take the win for his team here. So here's hoping that he can pull off some sort of miracle. I think he's going for a 12 hatch, it looks like. And BoGus not doing anything crazy, putting out his barracks early. Let's see what he goes for. I haven't seen too many versus Zerg by BoGus. I know he's supposed to be pretty good, but he's not like a super versus Zerg player, or someone on the caliber of Fantasy or Light, let's say, who I would argue are just one tier behind Flash. You know, Fantasy and Light, of course, can take games off anyone. And I don't know about BoGus, whether he's necessarily at that caliber. Here's hoping, though, that both players play a nice game of StarCraft, so that this would be somewhat less of a smackdown by STX over Woongjin Stars, because frankly, with Woongjin's team, they shouldn't. They should do better than a 4-1, losing 1-4, I should say, in their case. Anyway. Looks like this is going to be a barracks into CC build here by BoGus. The hatchery, the third hatchery, about to go down here for SoulKey. He's already put down his pool. SEV is going to scout everything, so BoGus is not going to be bothered. He's going to put down his command center in safety there. Keep his scouting SEV around. I mean, he's even brought out 2 SEVs to scout just to be sure and just to get the scout early. I think that is important. You do not want to be caught unprepared as Terran against Zerg, even though the barracks into CC is a pretty safe build. There's not too much you have to worry about in that build. So nothing too out of the ordinary for either players just yet. I think BoGus, if he knows what's good for him, he is going to try to put on some early pressure with infantry, which is what we see a lot of Terrans doing these days against Zerg. And Zerg seems to have a bit of a problem responding to that. Unless they can get basically, Zerg needs to achieve some sort of victory on the field and win a good battle using a force of Zerglings and Mulists. Alternatively, they need to be able to expand somewhere where they can sort of hold the ramp easily, and ideally use like Sunkens to be able to wall themselves in. But that's not the case that you can do that on most maps, unfortunately. For Zerg players, so they're going to struggle quite a bit, really. In general, I think, against a good Terran. So let's see whether SoulKey has anything to deal with this. Although it remains to be seen what exactly BoGus is going for. He's put down early engineering bay. He's getting +1 attack, so I think this is going to be early infantry pressure, as seems to be standard these days. These Zerglings are chasing around the SEV, not really managing to kill it. BoGus doing his best to keep the SCV alive, scouting as best he can, doing a pretty good job of it, but now he's forced to pull the SCV back, probably to his main. Good work here by BoGus, I have to say. The Zerglings have speed upgrade, so he sees that, which is always a useful piece of information. And although unfortunately for BoGus, he doesn't quite see how many Zerglings are out, he has to be careful here. SoulKey might be putting on a bit of early pressure, just wants to see what exactly BoGus might have at the front. He's got a bunker, supply depot. I think SoulKey cannot go for any sort of break. There are too many defenses here. What SoulKey should do is maybe try to bait as best he can and keep this force of Zerglings in reserve. I wouldn't show it, but SoulKey might be going for the attack. I don't know. I mean, surely SoulKey will do some sort of probe first to make sure that, you know, he can actually break through. Otherwise, it would be a pointless suicide mission. 2 more barracks going down for BoGus, so this is the sort of early infantry push we see coming from Terran quite often these days. The Spires finish. Looks like the Mutalisks are coming out now here for SoulKey. As long as SoulKey can micro his Mutalisks and Zerglings well, he'll be fine, I feel. 5 barracks, yep, this is the standard Terran build of the day, I have to say. Flash, I think he was the first I really saw employ it. As his adjustment in getting his infantry armies destroyed earlier, and now it looks like all the Terrans are copying him. Not too shocking, of course. Looks like SoulKey is putting down his 3rd base there. As long as he can delay long enough for lurkers and be able to hold that 3rd base, I don't think SoulKey's going to mind this too much. The one disadvantage of this early infantry push is the Terran is not going to really have the resources to go for science vessels anytime soon. So that's going to be sort of something that the Zerg player can take solace in. Unfortunately, the infantry army is so massive that the Zerg player really needs to pull off an effective surround to be able to deal with this. There are so many Mega Marines. That's at least 2 control groups of Mega Marines there. Any sort of direct attack by this is not going to work, and it looks like these Zerglings are going with Mutalisks absolutely useless. Fortunately for SoulKey, he realizes that that was foolish and manages to pull his forces back for now. What SoulKey needs to do is go for the counterattack! Go for the counterattack! No, he's using the cliff as best he can. That also works. Still, that's so many Mega Marines. And BoGus is already massing up a 2nd force in his base. He's got 5 medics there with his army. I don't think SoulKey's going to be able to bait the stems. I'm not quite sure what SoulKey can do. He's trying to engage in the middle of the map here. That's not the wisest decision. Even though his mutant micro has been reasonably good this game, he cannot micro in the open like this. Looks like SoulKey might be going for an attack. No, he's pulling back, allowing BoGus to group up his forces. He's managed to whittle down the Mega Marine count pretty well. He's got a Hydralisk dead. Looks like SoulKey is going for an attack now. Still not the most effective attack. He's not being able to pull off very good surrounds this game. And it looks like so many more Marines coming in. This is SoulKey's chance. He needs to pick all those reinforcements. But no, he's pulling back his forces. Looks like BoGus is going to push the front. And I don't think SoulKey has anything to defend. BoGus with 2 many Mega Marines, and SoulKey with absolutely nothing. He's doing his best to stop the forces here on the bridge. He's picked out a few more Marines, but there are too many Mega Marines, it looks like, at the front. SoulKey trying to migrate his Mutalisks as best he can. Not quite able to pull it off. Sunken's are morphing. 1 Lurker is finished. That Lurker burrows. Scan going down. Lurker pops immediately. These Mutalisks fighting desperately. 2 Sunken colonies morphing. Everything is such a desperate battle. 2 more Lurkers morph. And SoulKey holds his defense. That's got to be the closest defense I've seen. Still, SoulKey with pretty good micro. I wouldn't call it the best. I would say it's more on BoGus being rather foolish at times, letting his forces string out a bit too much. Nevertheless, I think both players played at a good level, not the highest level, but pretty damn good level. SoulKey just barely managing to hold his defense. I would say SoulKey, in general, the better microer, despite the fact that he failed to pull off an impressive surround attack. He did manage to use his Mutalisks fairly well. However, SoulKey needs to be very wary of pushing out. He does not have the forces to do this. He's going to try to lurker up at his 3rd base there with 2 lurkers on the ramp. Terran's not going to be able to break before Science Vessels and Tanks. Or at least before tanks. With tanks and scan, you can still break, but you know, you would have to sacrifice a lot of Mega Marines to break up that ramp. I don't think SoulKey wants to do that. SoulKey has been doing a reasonably good job of maneuvering his forces around the map. It just looks like that BoGus is not falling for it. He's confident that he has enough troops to stop any sort of counterattack coming in by SoulKey. He's just going for it again, natural. SoulKey needs to watch out. Those lurkers getting caught out of position by the American Marines. One lurker goes down. Fortunately for SoulKey, he has some more lurkers morphing. BoGus might be deciding to push in with all his damn Mega Marines. It looks like these lurkers doing a pretty good job against the Mega Marines. Absolutely epic battle as SoulKey takes the battle, even though with a clutch Ling and Mulus around the last second. BoGus lost more than he wanted to in that battle, surely. He managed to pick off a few lurkers there, but BoGus finally has been defeated out on the field. SoulKey proving that he has pretty good control so far this game. Still, Terran now will have Science Vessels out. He's going up to 6 bears. He's really going to seriously pump the infantry. And SoulKey needs to start upgrading his Carapace. 1-1 upgrades already finished for the Marines. So, BoGus still has the superior infantry army on the field. Looks like SoulKey's trying to press in with his force of lurkers and Marines, and the Mulus, I'm not sure whether this is wise. He probably shouldn't do this until he's got a second force in position to do some sort of surround. This sort of push is going to annoy BoGus at best. Not really do too much. BoGus now with Science Vessel out, 3 tanks. This is absolutely scary Terran army. Even in the hands of BoGus, the army is absolutely huge, considering he's lost 2 of them so far. Whereas SoulKey looks like he's still scrambling to get troops out to defend. He's going to be forced to pull back at this point against the Science Vessel and the tanks. Fortunately for SoulKey, he hasn't thrown away his units suicidally. He's still got his Mulus. He's still got a good force of Lings. Unfortunately, these lurkers are going to be forced to pull back. Middle of the map, not exactly the best position for the Zerg player. Good burrow on burrow here by SoulKey, doing his best to delay. He needs to pick off the Science Vessel. The Science Vessel does not go down one of the scourge hits. Mulus got a few shots off on it too. The final is coming out. I think SoulKey should be fine. He's going to be able to surround this force that is attacking his natural. He's got lurkers in place there, and he's going to be able to bring forces if SoulKey can defend on the bridge. If BoGus decides to cross the bridge, he's going to get absolutely massacred here, but it looks like BoGus wisely not marching across the bridge. He's going to come in and try to finish off this this secondary force of SoulKey's. Good move here by BoGus. I don't think BoGus is going to be able to break before Consume is finished. We shall see, though. BoGus looks like he's going to go target the base at the 4 o'clock position. I think if SoulKey defends on the bridge here, he's going to be able to hold out for some time. Plus, he can always pull his force at his natural to do some sort of surround. So I don't think this is going to be too much of a problem. Yeah, SoulKey this game proving that he has pretty